Hello, making a play video for spa time afternoon, and been listening to Valentina Lisitsa, and I also found a 5-year-old Oriental girl playing für Elise by Beethoven. I also added that to my Beethoven list, and I listen to this every day, and the way she plays is also, she gives this yet also another playful, a childlike version, energy to this. And Beethoven would have been very touched by that. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It gives me goosebumps, and it gives me tingles. It gives me spa and, you know, the cranial tingles when I watch Cheryl, the 5-year-old. I don't know, she's probably older by now. That video is a couple years old. So when I watched this video, her as a 5-year-old playing for Elise, wonderful, absolute wonderful, wonderful vibrations and energy, amazing, amazing, amazing. You know, the adult neurotic world had not been doing its conditioning yet, and she was still connected to the all world of infinity and infinite possibilities and playfulness, and absolutely lovely. Wonderful. Maybe I'll put the link for her video under my video so you can watch and listen to. Absolutely lovely. Then I watched a documentary film about, okay, I'm not even gonna answer now because he can't hear me anyway. So I had to turn a video off because he keeps hollering up. I made a good video for like 7 minutes or something. I had to turn it off because it got completely ruined. Because he keeps on hollering up, and I keep hollering down, and he can't hear me anymore. Can't hear anymore. So he's gonna have to get hearing aids now. The hearing is so bad that if I talk to him like I talk like this to the tablet, he wouldn't even notice that I said anything. And if I talk loud to him, next to him, he'll suddenly turn around and say, "Did you say something?" I actually have to holler real loud right next to him so he can actually hear what and oftentimes he doesn't even understand it. So he'll mistake the words, and he'll ask me again, "What do you mean, this or that?" And then it's like something totally different than what I said. So I'm making a video right now. I'm making a video right now. Yeah, I call this hardship. This is hardship. This is real hardship to lose the hearing, but it's also hardship for the partner of someone who loses his hearing. Very, very, very hard for both people. So, and the worst thing is if one person becomes age-related demented or gets Alzheimer's disease. That is the worst. I think that is the worst disease that exists in the world. Death is better than that. That's my personal view on it. So I just pray to my blue God that this never happens to me. And I can only say if that did happen, I would want to get euthanasia. I wouldn't want to live like this, and I wouldn't want to burden someone else with it. It's real hard for people who have that, of course, very hard and humiliating and awful and scary. And it's also extremely hard for the partners of someone who suffers from that. Extremely hard. So, and if, for my husband to lose his hearing is really, really difficult. But that's not the worst component of it. The worst component of this situation that I live with right now, and I think a lot of people can probably identify with this as well. A lot of older people can identify with that, or at least women who are living with elderly men. Maybe some women are still young, so, and they live with elderly men. So a woman that marries a man that is 40 years older than her. People in the other city, they used to think that was the case with us. They thought they judged me. They thought I was a gold digger. They thought he was 40 years older than me. But he's only 9 years older than me. So, but I got good genes and he got bad genes. So that's why it appears like this. And I feel terrible absolutely terrible for him. So, Papa Dog, all right, there you go, yes. There you go, Papa Dog. There's the Papa Dog. He just came in from the rain. Yes, he's sitting in my recliner chair. That's where he likes to sit. That feels good. Yeah, it feels kind of cradled in the recliner chair. And he also likes to sit in Paul's recliner chair. So, Paul, he needs hearing aids, okay, and then things will be a lot better. I know they will be a lot better because I will not have to put up with this loud, terrible music sometimes that he plays on YouTube or whatever video he watches. It doesn't have to be blasting. When we used to watch TV, he always had the volume up too high already years ago. So it just kept gradually getting worse and worse and worse. So, but the worst thing in all of these things, whether it is lack of hearing or dementia or whatever it is, the worst thing is when they become grumpy and angry and kind of demanding or self-righteous or very judgmental, very accusational. He does three things. He does accusations, blame, and insinuations. That's the three biggies that I call. And it's very difficult to live with someone who does this non-stop. And where there's a constant accusation, and sometimes very harsh accusations, very, very, very devastating and very psychologically poisonous and damaging. And I don't know how I'm making it through this. I don't know how I'm making it through this. Make it through this with my art. With the music, my creativity, writing, Papa Dog, of course, he keeps us together, and the foundation, of course, is that we both are very caring and we have genuine love in us. Also, you know, for each other as well. Mostly for the Papa dog, of course. He's our child, and more than our child. And we both feel the same way about this, and we have very similar political views, which is very rare for me to find someone like this. So there are points of connection between us that keep us together. I care very deeply about him. He cares about me, I know he does. But there's a lot of psychological problems in him, a lot of damage, psychological damage from childhood, and that gets projected onto me because I'm the only one in his life. While I work on myself, become more and more and more aware about these things, I know that I cannot project these things onto him. But he's not becoming aware, he's not working on himself, and that makes it extremely difficult for the other person. When you're not working on yourself, it makes it harder and harder and harder to get along with that other person, particularly if that other person is moving ahead and working on herself or himself, and you are not, and you keep on riding the same train of whatever act out you're doing. It's very different, and the other person recognizes that as pathology, and it gets kind of feels like it's sort of like someone is putting the brakes on you when you are trying to heal and move forward, and someone else comes along and puts an obstacle into your path of healing and slowing you down, slowing down your progression process. So very difficult for people. Very hard. My example is just one out of millions and millions of examples. So there's a lot of people out there who are going through something very similar. You know, if you're with an older guy, you know, and he's the coolest, happy camper, and he may have physical ailments, but he may even be in a wheelchair, but he's super happy and always grateful and always nice, then it's not a biggie at all. It's not an issue. I'd be very happy to roll someone around in a wheelchair, and I don't know if I could change diapers. That I don't know if I could. I don't know. I have issues with smells and stuff like this and OCD, but I don't think I could ever learn how to do this. But I could roll someone around. I can also, even though I'm not into kitchen and cooking, I can get into that. I would do that for someone else. But if that other person is ungrateful and constantly feeling victimized and constantly insinuating things into me and constantly saying, I bet you just want to do this, I bet you, you know, in parentheses, you criminal, you whore, or whatever, that's not going to work. That's not going to work out. Not going to work out. And unfortunately, we have these components in our relationship. So, makes me cry. Super sad. And I have no one else to talk about this to. No. So, no one to talk to. My brother, maybe, but he has his own problems. I don't want to burden him on top of all of this. So I keep the conversations with my brother as easygoing as I can. I don't want to burden him. I don't want to burden, particularly, I don't want to burden my parents anymore with any of my personal problems. I used to do this in the past. I used to talk to my mother. She'd ask me what's going on, then I will tell her honestly what's going on, and she can't deal with it. So eventually I realized that I can't talk to her about it. And it's okay. We can only do what we can do. Psychologically, we can't jump over our limitations. We have our limitations, and that's okay. And work with this, and if we can introspect, and we can work on ourselves and move forward. And the more we do this, the more we are available and helpful for other people. Some people can't do this at all. Some people can never introspect. Like my mother and my husband, they'll never be able to introspect at all. And that's okay to have to accept that. I can't force anyone to introspect. But if you can introspect, your life's gonna get better. That's a guarantee. There are a lot of people who cannot introspect. There's a lot of people who are not capable of doing this. And then there's a lot of people who are among those that are violent, and that's how it is. And it might never change. I watched a documentary on prisons in the United States. Made me cry. I left a comment underneath. It's my way of dealing with these kind of things that I find very overwhelming, but I try to deliver solutions, whether someone listens to me on this or not, that I cannot, I don't have legislation over. It's just an attempt to give solutions. And so the solutions are that instead of putting people into restraining chairs and putting restraining vests on them, or putting them into whatever restrainment or solitary confinement, it's the worst. Or those people are not ready for that. They go completely insane if you do this. There are people you can do that with, but most people go completely insane. If they're not already totally insane, but they'll get more insane. It's torture. Don't do that to any living being. It's not going to solve the problems. It's better to euthanize them than to put them into solitary confinement. That's torture. Torture is unacceptable. People don't even know what torture is. They don't even realize that this is torture. But that's why I write comments and make videos, to educate people on that. Probably no one will listen, but I still do it. I still make the videos, I still write the comments. Because what else can I do? That's all I can do. I offer my insights into this, and I am not a finished product. I am a progress. I'm in progress. I'm work in progress. Yes, I am moving ahead. I'm working on myself. I'm proceeding. I haven't reached a certain goal. I reached some intermittent goals that I have set. There's only intermittent goals that we can set and that we can reach, and even move beyond as well. And that's wonderful, but Is there an end goal? No, there's no end goal. There's infinity. Life is an ongoing learning process. Every lifetime is an ongoing learning process. And we are where we are, and there's no shame in it. Wherever you are, there's no shame in it. You are where you are. And there's a reason for it. That's not an excuse to hurt anyone. Never is. Hurting someone else is never. There's no excuse for it, ever. But there's a causality involved. It's not an excuse. Don't make the mistake. We need to differentiate between actual causality, physics, chemistry, biology causality, and an excuse. Our legal system is way in the dark ages with all of this. People haven't understood a thing about anything. It's either this or this, left or right, extreme is this, extreme is that, but the rationality, they're like light years away from rationality. With whatever decisions they are making. Usually, very slow progress in terms of animal rights and ethics and understanding what is consciousness and what is sentience. Very slow progress. But there's some progress made by angel souls and indigos and light workers and God level souls and the two Buddha level. Who are those? The two Buddhas. We have two Buddhas right now currently. Buddhas, the Buddha level soul. I'm not talking about Gautama Buddha right now. Gautama Buddha is the infinite cosmos. It's a manifestation of the infinite cosmos. He comes into a physical manifestation once in a while. But the two Buddha level souls that we have right now during these times are Bomjon from India. He teaches animal rights as a guru, real rigorously. And he just uses the platform of this one particular Hindu religion and reading Sanskrit and speaking Sanskrit. A monk, I don't know whether he's Hindu or Buddhist, so highly refined, amazing brain. He's promptly slandered by the media because, why? Because that what he says stands in opposition and stands as an obstacle in the way of those people who want to do corrupt things. So they slander him viciously. They viciously slander him and get away with that. Man, could he be rich if he could sue them for that kind of slander? But, the good people get slandered and the bad people, and they have the whole world on their side. And the good people don't have the world on their side. And that's why it is so important that we raise our vibrations so that we even be able to see, to discern who is the good person who is trying to make the world a better place, and who is doing the opposite, and who is making the world harder, more problematic, more painful. And the other Buddha soul is Elon Musk. Okay. being slandered from any corporation you can imagine. He's very concerned and scared and worried for this planet because he's very scientific and he knows what's coming. Okay, and he knows that these climate shift problems can suddenly escalate, and they can suddenly take on exponential proportions before we can even put our minds on it. That's what he is. He's seeing into the future. He's there trying to provide for us. And what are people doing? Slandering him in the worst possible way they can. The oil industry in particular, in the automobile industry, trying to get rid of him. They would kill him if they could get away with it, because they see him as a terrible threat to their ongoing market perpetuation and exploitation. Because he wants to save the planet. They can only see market perpetuation and income. They don't see the damage they're causing. Okay. It's very important that people realize this. Very, very important. How do we heal? How do we heal the global human society from their extreme neuroses and childhood damage? How do we heal this? We heal it by living as examples, by working on ourselves. We heal it by not beating ourselves up for our own mistakes that we have made. We heal it by saying, okay, I didn't know better, but now I'm going to do better. By holding ourselves accountable, by not shedding responsibility, by not wanting to be forgiven, okay, so that they can continue with the problem. No. By saying, I am infinitely sorry, and I cry over it. I'm infinitely sorry. I feel infinite grief over whatever mistakes I've made in the past, whatever mistakes you've made in the past. Say that, and say it every day, and mean it. That's introspection. And then say, I will never make these mistakes again. Never, no matter what. No matter what. No matter how angry I am. Using my own example, obviously Paul goes on my nerves a lot, as you can see yesterday in my video. It's not easy, it's very difficult. The writer Thomas Mann, my mother told me about this, he had a lot of kids, and he would always, they had a big house somewhere in Malibu or something, and he would basically lock himself away into his large studio, and he would get furious if he even hears people whisper in front of his door, because that would take him out of his train of thought as a writer. So I understand, but now this is the art of living. Now, instead of getting mad and yelling at the kids, I don't know whether he did that or not, he probably did, which is not right to do, to fly off the handle and get mad and get all irritated and all of this. It's better to get irritated in your own room, and if you're real mad and angry, you can hit your mattress, you can even scream into the mattress, but don't ever let it out on another living being in any way, neither screaming, nor hitting, nor throwing anything, nor damaging anything. Not even damaging a cup like this here, not stomping on or kicking against a material item. Some people throw computers. It's not good. It's not good. A, it costs you money. B, it scares everyone in the room. It scares the animals, the children. And C, the computer is also, there's also a form of consciousness in it. In everything, in the printer behind this tablet, in this table, in this material, as I said before, there's always a form of consciousness in it. Not like consciousness as in a brain, but it is a form of consciousness. So I don't want to be violent against anything. So a foam rubber pad is sort of like it is designed to take these kind of pounding and screaming and all of this. That's kind of designed for this. Okay, so it is there to do that job for us, to absorb this kind of stuff, this kind of pain that wants to be released and worked on. But then again, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, let's not be staying stuck in those kind of, anger workshop situation. So there are anger workshops that may be helpful initially, but then people keep going into this, and it becomes an addiction cycle, and then it becomes something and then it becomes an act out. And it's just an ongoing thing and then they become stuck in that, and that's not good. So there's something underneath the anger that we want to get to. Underneath the anger is the helplessness, and that's what we want to get to. We want to eventually get to that feeling, and so that's why a meditation on helplessness is our end goal. Or let's put it this way, there's no end goal, but this is in terms of the therapy process, that is the end, or that is the bottom line therapy. Okay, I'll call it that way. That is really that is the bottom of it that we want to get to. But we can't jump from A to Z. So if someone is enraged, they can't go immediately to that. So they have to go through the other instances first in order to get to finally to that what we want to really work on. And that is the helplessness underneath. And then after the anger has been released, and we've been writing our thoughts down or doing artwork about it, making some psychograms and so on, talking to people, then we can finally do a meditation on helplessness. And I want to end the video now with this meditation on helplessness. And I go through this myself, like you can see it in the video from yesterday. I go through this myself. I encounter those situations where I get very frustrated sometimes, particularly with my husband. He's the only human in my life, and so we frustrate each other and so on. So that's also an opportunity. I see it in the very moment that I'm getting frustrated. I see that as an opportunity to stop what I'm doing. Okay, obviously there are obstacles. The surroundings in my world is enclavish, or is brutish, or is this or that, or loud, or has a lot of demands. And I have to say, okay, I'm stopping what I'm doing. I can pick this up later on. I will lose my train of thought, but that's okay. I will pick it up eventually again. And I let go of my resistance to the obstacles that are in my surroundings. And then I sit down and I say, okay, this is what's happening, okay? Whatever it is. You get a high tax bill, or whatever it is, or someone's suing you, or there's a demand from someone, and your plan has been crossed. Some people's travel plans suddenly are crossed, or this or that, something they have been looking forward to, or a train of thought, like Thomas Mann writing his book, and someone out there making noises and taking him out of his train of thought. So, now stopping the resistance, breathing, no matter how uncomfortable that feels. We're angry and irritated when we're in a state of resistance. We don't want to let go of our activity. We don't want to let the outside world win and take us out of our whatever beautiful we're thinking or talking or creating. But sometimes there are things in the outside world that need our attention, of course, and the dog is always priority. For me, the dog is always priority, no matter what I'm doing. I could be talking to Al Gore on Google Hangout, would be nice. If my dog has to go to the bathroom, I say, sorry Al, I have to let my dog out. It's more important. I can take the tablet or the computer with me. I take Al Gore with me to open the door and let the Papa dog. Papa dog's more important. Whatever the Papa dog needs is more important, and that is the message I want to convey to the world. Our animals and our children are more important, and Thomas Mann should have known that too. If his child is crying in front of his door, for example, or said, Daddy, I skinned myself outside with the bicycle, and he's just writing some amazing piece of belletristic novel, and he's in this intricate thought process and very metaphysical, amazing thoughts that he wants to put into words, and there's the kid crying. The kid's more important. And you don't get mad. If you get mad, you're in resistance. Stop the resistance, and you can do that later alone in your room. You sit down on the chair and you lean back, straighten your back and your spinal cord, and you breathe. This deep breathing loosens up the resistance that we have to whatever there is. Breathe in through your abdomen. You hold your breath, feels like it's here, but you hold your breath for a couple of seconds. And you slowly release the breath, and you keep repeating this, and you let it flow, and you let it become autonomous, and you just let your body breathe without resistance and without laboring it or without forcing anything. And let the thoughts go through your brain as they go, whatever thoughts come up, and you can sit like this for 10 minutes, half an hour, or an hour. Some people sit longer with it. And you just sit with it. called Vipassana meditation. You let whatever comes up come and go, flow through you, and don't resist anything. Don't even resist the resistance, as Adyashanti said. We might have a feeling of resistance, and then they will resist that resistance because they think they need to not have resistance. But that's also part of something that goes through us. So allow that too. Allow even the shoulders to be tense. If they are tense in this moment, you can't be untense all of this at once. Okay? It's a gradual process. I can't suddenly loosen everything up. I mean, sometimes shaking the body can help with that. That can help. It's good to shake the body out before you sit down. But there are still some muscles that are tense, and some kind of posture of the skeleton that is attached to a certain emotion and a certain resistance, particularly of an emotion. And a resistant emotion that shows itself in the way we hold ourselves. My husband, for example, he has very crippled type of feet. They almost look like claws. And that may be he calls it a muscular dystrophy type, but I think that too is just another manifestation of internal resistance. It has to do with trauma. Trauma of rejection as a child, trauma of hostility from a parent. All of this goes into this. We can't loosen this up all at once. It can only be released very gradually. But if we work with this every day, we will harvest the fruits of it. I guarantee this to you. I guarantee this. I wish I had a therapy center so I can work with people directly like this. But for now, this is all I have, is the videos. We can work on this together in the videos. I work on it myself, for myself, and I show you how I do it, and how I go through this. And you can try that and see if it works. It might not work for you. Maybe you have a better idea. You have a better approach. And you can always share that. If you have a better approach, share that with me. Explain why and what it's doing to you and your nervous system. Maybe you are unique, but maybe that can help others too. You never know. So I'm just sharing with the stuff that I understand and that I'm convinced works for me and for others as well. But don't take anyone's word for anything 100%. Try it out for yourself. Always put things to the test. Compare things. How does this feel versus this? Does this work better for me? Maybe it does. Maybe then I will stick with that approach. But some holistic approach is always the journey within oneself, and not anymore numbing yourself or distracting yourself or expecting something from other people. No. Those are no more escape routes. They are finished, those escape routes. Now comes empowerment. Empowerment of every single individual in the world. So that's what we want to achieve. And then all war will end. There'll be no more war. Because no one is going to war anymore. And no one is going to work for a corporation that creates weapons or anything horrible. No one is going to test on animals anymore. Once you have gotten to your own nitty-gritty, you couldn't do it anymore. Do horrible things to another living being in whatever name that initially was signed up for. You couldn't do it anymore. And then suddenly suffering will stop. Suffering will end for all living beings equally much. And that is my end goal. That's my ultimate goal. To keep on towards making things a paradise, more and more and more and more and more. So right now we're light years away from a paradise. So the next goal, my ultimate goal at this point, is that people will introspect into themselves. They will do these meditations of letting go resistance, of loving themselves, of saying, I didn't know better what I did in the past. I was cut off, I was split. Now I know better, now I see. No, I can't do this anymore. What I've been doing to others and to myself, I cannot continue on that path. I'm changing jobs, I'm changing lifestyles, I'm changing husbands, wives, friends. And then we move towards that goal where there's no more suffering in any living being. And then we keep going and making the world more and more and more a paradise. And that's also what Ben Goertzel so beautifully wrote about in his book, A Cosmos Manifesto, where the whole infinite cosmos rejoices with every component in joy and happiness. It's an explosion of joy. And many explosions of joy that keep going. So let's move in that direction through introspection and meditation and breathing, and letting go of resistance and letting go of expectations and letting go of what other people think of us. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. It has absolutely no bearing on anything, on your life and on your mind. Makes no difference. Let them think what they want to think. Make it a practice, make it an exercise, as Tony Robbins always does with his clients. Make this a fun exercise. Rub it in some more. Really stand against that stream where the other people think, maybe they think you're a clown or something. Let them think that. Rub it in some further. Tell them, yes, I'm a clown. I'm a jester. It's good to be a clown and jester. It's good to be a shaker and mover. It's good to be someone who lives for his own purposes, not for pleasing a society or being accepted. It's good. Do something fun about it. Make a hat that stands out. Sew yourself a funny hat. Practice this. Let them look, let them gossip, and you meditate while they do it. And you meditate on that what is. They are gossiping, and it's okay. And you are here, and they are there, and you are happy where you are here, in this moment. No need to adapt yourself to any society. And so through this example, you're helping others. You also become a serious person. The clown is actually the most serious character there is. The clown in his free time cries. He also introspects. He also sees what's going on. And he has a lot of compassion for animals and humans. The clown is the crystal healer. A therapist. Clowns have always been a therapist for children back in the old days. So now we can do this without exploiting another living being. We don't need to exploit an animal, elephant, or ballerina anymore. We can do clown sessions without the circus, literally. And then things will move forward, okay? And that is what I want for the world. Okay, you guys take care.